name's Ashley and I'm in my final year of the Bachelor of Education primary degree. I recently sat the LANTITE test. The test focuses on basic literacy skills that you've developed throughout primary school, high school and university. Content that you should be familiar with and would expect to encounter in everyday life. So in other words, it brings you closer to your end goal of graduating with your teaching degree and being ready to be a classroom teacher. I would recommend logging onto the ACER website and checking out the sample test, which is online. This really helped me to prepare because it gave me an overview of the structure, format and types of questions I could expect to encounter on the actual test. It gives you lots more information about the test, including the kind of context that you'd expect to encounter, as well as what to expect regarding the complexity and difficulty of the text types. The Faculty of Education and Arts LANTITE Leo page has some really useful information about the test, including general prep tips and links to lots of other useful resources. The literacy section has a lot of reading, involving various text types and genres, which you come across as a teacher as well as in your everyday life. The text used in the test will vary in length. Some were really quite long, others were a lot shorter but focused on your ability to interpret and comprehend information. For example, in the test that I took, I had to interpret a flowchart, a website sitemap and a timetable. I read each text carefully before I looked at the actual questions, so then I had to focus on the overall meaning instead of just skimming and scanning for an answer. This really helped because some of the questions required an understanding of the text as a whole, so I had to use inferential thinking to identify the answer. The text doesn't really need you to do much writing, but you do need to have an understanding of language in context. For example, in the test that I took, I needed to identify the most appropriate homophone for a particular context. For instance, I had to know the difference between there, and there. Spelling is an important skill for all teachers to have, so obviously it's tested in the literacy test. You may want to brush up on frequently misspelled words, as in the test that I took there were questions which asked me to identify spelling errors. For example, when spelling maintenance, would you spell it using the ending ENCE or ANCE? You also need to be aware of how the placement of punctuation marks assists the reader to understand a piece of writing. For example, I was asked to identify correct punctuation marks in a sentence. I had plenty of time to finish the test, but I'd recommend that once you finish, go back and check your answers carefully. Even though you complete the test on the computer, you will be given a piece of paper and a pen so you can use that to work out your answers. You can also skip questions if you're not sure and come back to them later. Make sure that you note down on the piece of paper the question that you've missed out on so you can come back. Also, when you're answering the questions that require you to refer to a text, the text will always appear on the left side of the screen and then the questions will appear on the right. This means you can always refer back to the text as you're answering the question. On the day, I had to complete an online tutorial sample test to help me become familiar with how everything worked. It helped to ease my nerves and reinforce what I'd learned about the structure and format of the test. It's a computer-based test, so the questions are randomly generated. This means you probably won't be answering the exact same question as other people taking the test around you. Here are some final tips to help you prepare for the test. Register early as places fill up quickly. Check the ACER website, complete the sample test on the ACER website, check the FIA LANTITE Leo page, regularly check your ACU email account for information about LANTITE, use multiple choice test taking strategies, work steadily through the test, don't spend too much time on any one question, be sure to answer all the questions. You won't lose marks just for guessing. Don't overthink the questions, and consider taking the test on the same day as a friend.